Pan.
You're mute, sir. Siddharth, sir.
Yeah, Ajay Bhai started the webinar. So we already have 13 attendees, I can see.
Yeah, the 28, 29.
Yes.
Babdeep sir,
Good evening, sir.
welcome to Indian Orthodontic Society. There are some geniuses and we want the talent of those geniuses to pass on to all the specialties of dentistry. So you are here.
The player is all mine.
So Orthodontic Society, we have like the executive, which has 40 members approximately. There are different committees. So this is the program of the practice management committee amongst the executive committee. So in general, it is being taken care of by the executive committee, but in depth, it is taken care of the practice management committee. So Dr. Siddharth was, conversing with you. He's the chair for the same, and there is an entire team of practice management committee are there here.
Okay.
So we're just waiting for the people to get in.
Dr. Bhavdeep, can you just try recording it? Because I guess I just allowed you for that. Same.
It's already being recorded.
I'm recording it, Ajay Bhai.
Yeah, but Dr. Bhavdeep also can record it.
Okay, okay.
Because just allowed.
It might be recorded only at one place, sir.
No. This will be recorded locally in your files, in your computer as well.
I can stop and pause. When I clicked it, I can just stop and pause. That's it. Maybe. I'm not sure. Let's see.
Bhavdeep, if there is any issue, we would pass the recording to you later.
Yes.
No problem. No problem. No problem.
Siddharth?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We are just waiting for the quorum to be at
Yes,
7:05.
yes. Okay, sir. Right.
So if at all, Dr. Bhavdeep has little to say about Orthodontic Society, about dentistry, or, he has got, as of what I know, Dr. Bhavdeep, I will learn very little of him, that he's been in MBA in at least more than 8 subjects. So he talks on everything related to stress management, relating many things. So, Dr. Bhavdeep, if you want to actually start with something, you can always, by the time, we're 2 minutes away. So if at all you wish to say anything.
No, we'll start with the presentation only straight away. We'll start with the presentation straight away. No problems.
Perfect.
The advice 7:05 will start, right?
Yes, yes. It's 7:05. President, sir, can we start?
Yes, dear, we would start. Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. Today, we, on behalf of the practice management webinar series organizers, with the help of Dr. Siddharth Sethi and our president, sir, today we have a very dynamic speaker who will be talking on a soft skills, ethics code, and internal marketing in orthodontic practice. Before we go ahead as a ritual, we would like to have a lamp lighting. Thank you. Ideally, we are supposed to have honorary secretary with us, but because of his traveling schedule, he is not going to be with us right now. So I would like to invite Dr. Siddharth Sethi for the same to adorn the president jewel and invite the president for the same. Over to you, Siddharth.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ajay Kubawat. As is customary, I now request the president of the Indian Orthodontic Society, Dr. Balwinder Singh Thakkar, to address the gathering for the 4th Practice Management Webinar Series, Webinar of the Year. Respected sir, kindly address that.
Good evening to delegates. I would recognize the presence of my dear Vice President, Dr. Shailesh, and Executive Committee members, Dr. Sudeep, Dr. Deena, and everybody from the Executive Committee who's there well on time to attend this great program by Dr. So, what chosen as the speaker for this practice management webinar was, I have been listening to him from last more than 12 or 15 years, and he's been talking everything to the level that everybody, right, as a student to the person who's practicing at the age of 60 years, he connects with him very well in dentistry. And I'm sure his topic of soft skills and ethics and, the treatment has to be done and to raise up in the practice. I'm sure that will be of a great value to all the participants. With this, this program, my best wishes to the working so hard, the leader, the Dr. Siddharth Shetty, along with his team, along with Deena and everybody in the team who's been there very proactively managing this. So this is one of a kind program, the 4th season for particular practice. 2 hours will be dedicated to the ethics code and soft skills. So with this, my best wishes, Jai Hind, Jai iOS.
We now request our esteemed speaker to be introduced by Dr. Deena Dayalan, PC member, iOS.
Very good evening. Thank you. Thank you so much, Siddhartha. Very good evening, members. Dr. Bhavdeep requires no introduction. He graduated in 1998 from Punjab University, Patiala. He specialized in implants from Biohorizons, USA in 2004 to 2005. And advanced course from LAC, ICOA, USA in 2006. Apart from dentistry, Dr. Bhavdeep holds a triple MBA in hospital management, finance and human resources, and marketing from 3 different institutes in India: the IIM Pune, IGNOU Delhi, and Anna University Chennai. He holds postgraduate diploma in medical law, ethics, clinical research, cyber law, disaster management, financial management, bioinformatics, amongst many more from different universities. He is a certified healthcare waste management manager from IGNOU and qualified consumer law as well. He is academically oriented dentist and has more than 300 original scientific research publications to his credit in many international and national journals. He has authored more than 8 books on different topics of practice management, published by Lambert Academic Publications. He lectures all over India extensively on the topic of practice management, medical law, ethics, and concern and finances for dentists, and is writing a series on these topics in multiple journals simultaneously. His YouTube channel exclusively for the dentist is famous by the name of Dr. Bhavdeep Pauja, and he posts many videos every week on these 3 topics for upliftment of the dental fraternity. Presently, he is into his 24th year of clinical practice, Ludhiana, Punjab. We heart welcome you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Deen Dayal, for your warm introduction. And
Thank you, sir.
it is a respect for me to be amongst the august audience of the elite dentists of India. Orthodontists, we all know, is the most preferred branch whenever somebody opts for a post-graduation. So to be in the company of such elite people is an honor for me. So respected Ravinder Thakkar sir, Dr. Siddharth Shetty, and the whole EC team, it's a privilege for me. So I hope I'll be doing somewhat justice for the faith you have instilled in me for the next 100 minutes or so. And try to wind up the things close to 9. So can I share my screen, please? Yeah, thank you. So is my screen visible and am I completely audible?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Audible.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much. So this is the practice management webinar series by the iOS. So you can say honored to be and privileged to be here amongst the audience, amongst the speakers, and you can say a lot of luminaries being here. So all my presentations always start with thanking the Lord Almighty who's given me much more than what I deserve. And of course, when the finance angle is a bit involved, I have to thank my dad as well, who was instrumental in teaching me the clinical part of finance. So what we are doing as such. So this is my brief CV. Dr. Deen Dayalan has already told all of you about it, so I wouldn't be spending time over it. So we are here for this purpose. We all know soft skills, ethics code, and internal marketing in orthodontic practice. So I'll be delivering, as I said, for the next 100 minutes or so. I'll be using the platform to deliver the same. At any point of time, if you feel any video lag, audio lag is there, please notify me in the chat box. Sometimes it becomes difficult to recognize if any lag is there. So please do let me know. Although I'm sitting almost on the top of the modem, so there should not be any issues in that. So we'll be discussing these 3 topics predominantly. Of course, soft skills in itself is a very, very huge topic, but I'll try to do somewhat justice to this topic in the time span I've been allotted over there. So soft skills, ethics codes, and internal marketing, not necessarily in that order in orthodontic practice and in general dentistry. Otherwise, of course, with an angle involved, keenly focused on orthodontics. So I'll try to keep the language in mostly simple English only, but if I use a little bit of Hindi anywhere, I'll be translating the same in the immediate next line for the convenience of all my, you can say, fellow colleagues, all my fellow dentist colleagues from the southern part of India. So all my presentations always have this kind of a disclaimer that I don't call myself a practice management guru. I'm just a very simple person with simply system-enabled different fundas. My fundas might not appeal to everyone, but I'm sharing them because they applied to me and gave me success. So you can apply them, but do so at your own risk always. So the basic logic is to understand the fundamentals, learn them, imbibe them in your working, and of course, become an effective manager. No one of us is a born manager. No hospital on the planet gives a certificate, badhai ho, that a manager is born. Congratulations, a manager is born. It is only by years of gradual practice and learning that all of us become one. So the basics are and will always remain, have been the key always, and they will continue to remain so. So what is exactly practice management? Some of us believe that practice management is like, you can say, sweet talk or meethi meethi batein, as we say in Hindi. So it's not about the sweet talk. It is about the series of changes in us, first of all, in our behavior, in our practice, and then application of some smart tips for confidence and success in our practice life. Practice is a business, whether we want to understand, whether we want to believe it or not, it is a personal choice, but then it all begins with that only. So before I dish out the content for you, let me set the right context for you so that you can identify with the subject and the topic a little bit better in the way I want you all to understand the same. Many of us shirk ourselves to call an entrepreneur. We just are happy to be labeled as a doctor or a dentist or an orthodontist in our case in this gathering. So I would say we all are entrepreneurs, first of all. Why do I say that? Because we are multitasking so many skills, so many realms of dentistry all at the same time, of course, with the help of our team, not solely doing the solopreneurship, but doing an entrepreneur or handling an entrepreneurship is like, you can say, managing multiple nodes of the business which are there. And when you handle multiple nodes, we all have pain points. Nobody from this gathering can say that I fall in the 0 category. They may be in the 1 or 2 category, but yes, many of us may be in 7 to 10 category as well. So we all have pain points in dentistry, whatever specialty we are in. So the pain points are nothing new. They will always be there. And what exactly is a pain point? Simply saying they are problems, plain and simple. And it can be multiple. It can be segregated under multiple heads. What is the basic reason of pain points? If I ask you, it is our broken education system, I would say. We are taught a lot about dentistry and of course, many things about post-graduation in our specialty. But we are not taught the basic DMF skills. We all read the DMF index in the community dentistry, but there is more of DMF in our education system, which is lacking. And I call that the DMF, which is lacking, means documentation, management, and finance. So these 3 things are so vital for us because we don't know anything about it. The primary problem is that we try to manage things on our own, the way we learn from our experiences, from our seniors, from our colleagues, from our peers, wherever we come across, maybe from online. These days, online is a big pool of knowledge in that sense to understand these things. But isn't it the time to plug these handicaps of dentistry? So if we are shirking to call ourselves an entrepreneur, we won't treat dentistry like a business also. If I ask somebody, is dentistry a business? Some would say yes, some would say no. But then they will say, maybe it was a noble profession when we last heard about it. Don't remember the code of ethics? It says it is a noble profession. But I would say yes and no. If anything has an income and an expense at the end of the day, it is a business. Whether we want to believe it or not, it is surely a business. Now, if I ask again, do we really treat dentistry like a business? No. As I said, colleagues believe that practice management is just about meethi meethi batein, or you can say in sweet talk to the patient, convincing the patient, bargaining, negotiation, and all that. And of course, a little bit of that. And this is practice management. I'm really sorry to say practice management is not that. The management of practice, be it any specialty, generalized speaking, it is about learning the foundational activities of a business. Because dentistry, at the end of the day, because of income and expenses involved, it is a business. Of course, treating patients, but of course, charging from them is a part of a business. So what exactly do we have in the foundational activity? Foundational activities will remain constant for any business. Any business would have, you can say, multiple activities. There would be 6 or 7 in any field, be it marketing, be it sales, be it HR, be it R&D, be it accounts and financing, be it management. So they'll have 6 or 7 will be common to us. But these, you can say, these realms have been identified as 10 in our field. You won't find this classification elsewhere because this has been made by me only. So the 10 fundamentals of management derived by me, which are instrumental, they'll be the starting point for me. Of course, I'm, you can say, sharing a bit about them, what exactly lies in them. So just like any business, we have to build it brick by brick. So dentistry is also having those activities. So let's talk about the 10 foundational activities in brief before we move on to the content related to the subject matter for today. So marketing. So when we hear the word marketing, we have to understand we are not talking advertising alone, because marketing, any word anyone uses, it means paid promotion, advertising, anything. Marketing is more than that. Marketing is not only external, internal also. But other than that, if I have to define marketing, it means adding value in someone's life. It does not mean only promotion. What do we achieve by marketing? We create value in someone's life, we add. Marketing is always, you can say, in the ratio of 80 to 20. You add value and then you sell. That is the golden proportion. Colleagues misunderstand this paradigm in a different way. They say, when I've opened up, let me just go in for paid advertising and let me just market my clinic. Of course, under the, you can say, the revised guidelines 2014 of DCI, we all can advertise in an ethical way. There is no bar on doing that. Pre-2014, the guidelines were not there for that. But yes, there are certain riders which I'll be telling in the latter part of the presentation. But somebody goes into paid advertisement and people or potential patients come across your advertisement. And then still after, you can say, spending a bomb on paid advertisement, somebody doesn't get a lead or doesn't get a, you can say, a patient from there. Then they say, this is bullshit. Paid marketing does not work. The simple question to ask yourself is, are you present online? If not, present online does not mean having a profile. Present online means you are there adding value in people's lives. Via maybe any mode, can be video, can be blog, can be infographic, can be code, can say any value addition in the customer's life. Don't we do the same thing? All of us order to Zomato and Swiggy these days. We open up our app and we come across any new restaurant. What do? We scroll down to the bottom. And firstly, what we check? The reviews. What exactly is, you can say, that restaurant's rating? How is the food? How is the service? How is the delivery? Then once, I think somebody's audio is on, maybe a little bit of disturbance is there. Please do check. Thank you. So what do we seek? We seek validation in part of that. So once we are doing validation for our own activities, why would people not do the same for us? If I have to simply convert it in one line, nobody buys from you the first time they come across online. They come across you online. They don't know you. They will validate it through your social media profile, through your website, or through your other presence. If you come across, and of course, the website also is bundled with feedbacks, testimonials, Google reviews, all those things are validation points. Yes, this doctor is good. He has done this. So many patients have praised this, similar to the restaurant analogy that I gave. So this is, you can say, existing parallel to your paid advertisement. Most of that is organic. Organic means non-paid. Now, this is one part. Anyway, organic, non-organic, paid, whatever way, patient comes in. He walks in. Whatever effort that has been marketing has been doing is to bring the patient to the doorstep or inside of your clinic. Once that happens, external marketing ceases to act. Internal marketing takes over. And that is what is important. Of course, Bollywood is having a tough time these days. But what value do the stars provide? Shah Rukh Khan, Salman Khan, Amir Khan. Their main aim was to pull the audience on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Of course, in this era of social media, the movie bombs even on a Saturday. But traditionally speaking, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because of the holiday factor, they will pull in the audience because of their face value. But Monday onwards, the content does the talking. If the movie is good, it will run. Otherwise, it will bomb. Similarly, whatever way, organic, paid, non-paid, whatever way the patient has come into your clinic, if your internal marketing is not good, if it is not giving them good, you can say value for money, then all the marketing that you have done is zero. It will be like, you can say, you talk high and you deliver almost nil. So, unchi dukaan fika pakwan, as they say in Hindi. So it's about internal as well. So internal is equally important. And what do we cover in internal? Maybe your clinic decor, maybe your staff, maybe your staff's presentation, maybe your presentation, your profession etiquette, maybe the waiting time. There are so many factors that come into. Does not mean that you need to have a flamboyant, you can say, clinic or a flashy one. It should be at least a decent one. More on that when we cover the internal marketing. Then we come to the sales. People communicate this, that sales is about pitching yourself, where you are, you can say, in making love with your PowerPoint, going in a breathless mode like Shankar Mahadevan. But eventually the customer is, or the patient is looking at his watch, looking here and there, and is eventually bored. And what you were doing, you were having an orgasm with your presentation, but the patient was not interested. Sales, if I have to define, just like marketing I defined in one line, was value addition in someone's life. Sales, if I have to define, is about uncovering the patient's need. What does the patient want? I don't need to sell everything that I have, but I have to sell what the patient wants. So in that, the communication plays a role. The golden proportion is 70-30. 70, the patient talks, 30, you talk, or 2/3, 1/3. You can put it whatever. We do the reverse. The patient starts to tell the symptom and we just go, okay, fine, understood. Most of the patients have this problem in India. The doctor didn't listen to us properly in full. Then the third foundational activity is operations. Has so many aspects, but it is actually what we do in our clinic. The processes, systems, structure, SOPs, and of course, the actual working. A lot more aspects come into this along with patient satisfaction part. Then the R&D part. Research and development. It does not literally mean that you put on a lab coat and you're doing experiment in the clinic and fumes are coming out of your test tubes. It's like innovating yourself, adding new services to your clinic or your repertoire every now and then, especially if you're a beginner. Even if you're an orthodontist, you can diversify into different, you can say, general dentistry practice as well. So it's not entirely about restricting yourself to specialty. Yes, you can pick and choose your patients after a few decent years of good settled practice, but it's not necessarily to stick on to this practice. You can say only one realm of practice. Then accounts and finances. People are interested not in mathematics. Most of us, you can say, picked up you can say, science in 10+1 because we hated maths. The problem is maths, and Dr. Pradeep is coming back to haunt you again. What matters at the end of the day in my bank account is what matters to me. Number of patients treated does not matter to me. If I'm earning something out of it, that does matter. And the sixth activity, of course, one of the most important and one of the most abused resource in India, human resource. Then the seventh is documentation paperwork, primarily record keeping and customized consent. Eighth, legal, regulatory, and ethical, the statutory guidelines from the government of India, which we have to follow. And of course, there are certain guidelines from any specific state governments as well, which are, of course, restricted and followed. Then, of course, it's not exactly 9, it is the 10th, but I placed it at number 9. So, measuring, tracking, benchmarking, or gauging the progress against various indicators, various KPIs, various metrics, whatever. If you are not measuring what you are doing, you are not knowing whether you are growing or not. It's as simple as that. And number 10 is management, which is in essence what we all are doing in great deal. And as we grow in practice, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, we are needed more at the back end than at the front end, which means delegating effectively to the people around us, where we can make sure that we don't carry the burden till the age of 60 and 70, and we need to earmark our own retirement plan ourselves. So that is in a nutshell, the 10 nuts and bolts of, you can say, any business, particularly dentistry. And these are the starting point for me for today's presentation. So it is not only about the soft skills, it is about these aspects also, which are all the more requisite and needed in our practice. So when we talk of practice management, that the patient has come in, is first impression the best impression? Some would say yes, some would say no. But where does it start? It starts with soft skills. Soft skills may have a whole bunch of activities, teamwork, you can say your attitude, your system of working. And of course, the first and the major of that comprehensive list is communication. I'll be dealing with that part. Of course, it's not possible to deal with all of the soft skills, but I'll deal with the major part where we commit the mistakes and what we can handle better. So what exactly is communication? Anything that affects a living being. You don't communicate with non-living. You can't communicate with a chair or a table. And of course, you cannot not communicate. It is a process, a social process, and a reciprocal process. So why communication? Because it is fundamental. It is vital. You can't really live without it. And what are the common ways to communicate? Spoken words, visual images, written words, and body language. People underestimate body language as a way to communicate. It is one of the most important ways. I'll show you in the coming slides how. So words are the most powerful drug used by a mankind. And we are, you can say, easily the most over-communicated society in today's times. Open up your phone, you'll have lots and lots of, you can say, more than 1,000 WhatsApp messages unread. It happens most of us, not all. WhatsApp was invented as a communication medium, but it is an abused communication medium in today's times. We send more and receive less. We have become, you can say, intolerant because of that in terms of listening. We want to convey that our viewpoint is the best. And we have forgotten to respect the opposite person's viewpoint, be it anyone in the family, in the clinic, associate staff, assistant staff, even the patient. We have forgotten to do that. Not all, again, many of us. Commonest, you can say, proverb we have heard: who speaks sows, who listens reaps. And of course, give every man thigh here, but very few thigh their voice. William Shakespeare said it. So practically in communication, they say, if you have nothing to say nothing. Say nothing. The basic of all the human needs is the understand and be understood. And for the best way to understand people is to listen to them. This is the most, you can say, underused skill in today's time. What can be the communication skills? Listening comes at the number 1. Listening, speaking, reading, writing, observing, and understanding. These are all part of your communication skills. A patient walks in, he can tell you a lot many things through his body language, whether he's getting converted for the treatment or not. The only thing you need is you should have the knack of understanding and observing those things. If there is a number here, if I ask you to fill it, how much percentage of our communication efforts are misunderstood, misinterpreted, rejected, disliked, distorted, or not heard? People would say 10, 20, 30, 40. The exact answer is 70%. 70% of our communication efforts are misunderstood, misinterpreted, rejected, disliked, distorted, or not heard. What communication mistakes we do in our interaction with patient? Number one, we try to cut off the patient when they are talking. We don't let them complete. Then we make a halo effect or a horn effect of the person sitting adjoiningly or sitting, you can say, maybe who has come up with the patient accomplice or patient relative or whatever. Make a wrong assumption. He's a husband, he's the brother, he's the neighbor, or whatever you can say. You make an assumption. Halo effect or horn effect. I hope all of you must have heard about it. Then, do you ever cross your arms while talking to patients? Cross your arm means close body positioning, where you try to convey that I'm not open to listening. Just speak whatever you want to speak, and I'm not averse to opening up. So commonest flaws now the patient, what they observe in our first interaction with them. As I said, internal marketing starts the moment patient comes in. He observes the clinic, the aroma of the clinic, the decor of the clinic, the presentation of the staff, uniform of the staff, if it is there, the waiting time in the time he has to spend even after an appointment, and then the first interaction with you. Comes to that, you may not be dressed professionally, as many patients will expect a doctor to be. Of course, you don't expect everyone to be in scrubs, but at least an apron should be there. A basic thing. Yes, a scrub is a good addition to that. Then sometimes we don't address the patients properly. We converse in a casual way. Then, as I said, we make an incorrect assumption about the patient who's sitting next, and it creates an uncomfortable experience for that family member. Then we are interrupting them and not letting them speak. In fact, sometimes the patient who has had to spend more time in the waiting area is actually upset about the time delay, and we don't actually acknowledge or apologize. Margaret Sumption, a European professor, has given a concept of ASAP, that the patient, whenever he or she comes in the clinic, needs to be acknowledged about their arrival. They felt that I felt like a ghost. Patients have actually reported that they felt like a ghost, that nobody was there to even acknowledge their presence or let them know what time the doctor is going to take, or whether they are running busy or running late, or someone to offer them a glass of water or a tea or coffee if somebody is doing that. Then crossing their arms to signify that we don't want to hear such a complaint. I said, I am not open to listening. Then we use bad mouthing. Again, a little bit of, you can say, ethical conduct being flown overhead. We badmouth our colleague in front of the patient, which actually demonstrates our lack of professional decor, which we have to understand that doesn't go well. You badmouthing somebody will not be, you can say, in good terms with the patient for your impression. Now, in similar situation, I told you about the cross-arm approach. Somebody, you can say, literally barges in our clinic. Communication skills are the best way to handle it. People try to delegate that patient to someone else. They don't allow the patient to vent off their feelings. Answers are ready on their tongue. Then they don't listen. They try to make a second guess. Aapne instructions follow nahi kiya hoga. You may not have done this. You must have eaten sticky things. That is why your bracket came off. We make second guesses. You have to understand that firstly, you have to ask the patient to sit down. Never say, please cool down first. Please aaram se baat kijiye. Please cool down. Don't say that. Make them comfortable. Make them sit. your assistant should be well trained, or at least by your gesture, they should bring a glass of water to cool that. Jal, aap baithiye, please, aram se bataiye. Please sit down and tell us what are your problems. Of course, it all boils down to what are the system of working you have. If your patients know that you check only on appointment, you will face very less of this. Patients will actually not run into or barge into your clinic with the angry bird kind of an emotion. They'll come with an appointment and tell you. And when they know that you are open to addressing the complaints, open to solving them, open to listening them. To solve any complaint, you have to first listen and not make assumptions. Let them vent out, half the anger is already gone. Then you speak in a calm voice, slow your breathing. And of course, feel, felt, found approach, one of the commonest approaches. Many of us must be knowing it, but those of you who don't know, feel means conveying the empathy. I understand, I can really feel, I can really understand how you are going through. A few of our patients have also felt in a similar way, which actually defines the problem to the patient that he or she is not alone facing this kind of a problem. So they feel that, okay, this is not a very abnormal thing I am facing. Then most of our patients, when they underwent this, found that this gave them relief. Feel, empathy, felt they are not alone, found, suggesting the remedy. Simple, open and shut. And always avoid the urge to argue. The problem is many of us, when we grow in our practice, it's not related to specialty, it's not related to, you can say, any specific person, but many of us, when we grow in our practice, a little bit of high-headedness creeps in. And that is when we are very much, you can say, in that mood, when we don't want to accept mistakes. So for listening, you have to focus totally on what the patient is saying. Do not let your mind wander. You fiddling with your phone, gesturing to your assistant, you can say looking here and there while the patient is speaking doesn't bode well for you. Put aside your personal concerns, even if you have any. I always say this, whenever you walk into your clinic, drop off your personal baggage outside your clinic. And when you go home, drop in your clinic's baggage, professional baggage inside your clinic. Don't carry it to your family. Carrying on, mixing of both the baggages is wrong. We all have pain points. We all have problems. I started with that only. It does not mean we mix and match and ruin our family life and professional life because of each other. Then don't concentrate on formulating a reply. Concentrate on what the patient is actually saying. Listen it. You might actually know that you might be at fault. Then look as well as listen. Listening carefully sends a very, very good message. And of course, as I said, body language plays a very important role. Verbal and non-verbal information, both. So William Osler said, listening is unspoken caring. So if you can devote yourself in that regard, you can say delegate your mindset towards listening properly. Trust me, guys, you are in the right space. As I said, the basic need is first to understand and then to be understood. For someone to understand you, you have to understand them first. So listen to people sincerely. The golden proportion of this is in the sales aspect of foundational activity also. I told you 2/3, 1/3, or 70/30. 70 the other person speaks, 30 you speak. Then what are the tips to improve your learning skills? Paraphrasing. Restating what the patient said in your own words. You have problem number A, you have problem number 2. Am I getting it correctly? Yes, doctor, you got that correct. No, doctor, you didn't get it correctly. I meant to say this. Okay, fine. Problem number 1, this. Problem number 2 is this. Then summarizing. Putting together the main points of a speaker, of the patient in this case. Summarizing whatever the patient has said. Then questioning at any point, if you feel that there is a way to counter question or to challenge or to, you can say, uncover the need of that patient in that realm. Yes, exactly, the patient might be at fault, but it does not mean this is not a fault finding exercise. So stop being an FF, fault finder. Stop being an FF first, try to reach to the bottom. Then verbal cues, nod your head, maintain eye contact, keep an open body position, not crossing your arms, make encouraging statements, paraphrase, repeat a sentence or part, repeat the last word or two of the prior speaker, paraphrase and repeat a sentence, summarizing in the main points. These are the good ways to foster good communication. Any practice relies on patient satisfaction. And unfortunately, patient satisfaction does not have any metric. The simplest formula that I follow is by famous Harvard professor David Master. S is equal to P minus E. Satisfaction is equal to perception minus expectation.
Team banana bhi bhul diya second.
Somebody's audio is on. Please put it on mute. Thank you. So satisfaction is equal to perception minus expectation. Patient walks in with certain kind of expectation in their mind. Whatever you do via treatment, ऐसे भी और वैसे भी, with the treatment and with your behavior, ऐसे भी and वैसे भी, as I say, creates a value or creates a perception in the patient's mind about you. If that P is more than the E, the resultant S would be positive. And if not, it would be dissatisfaction. And patient satisfaction, as I said, there is no metric. The best metric for a patient satisfaction is then bargaining, negotiation. That starts happening at the end. Even if you have prior or mutually agreed upon terms for the treatment, start having that. Because the patient feels that the experience was not worth it, what they paid for. They went to a PVR and they got a ticket for a single screen. They didn't get a multiplex experience. Just giving an analogy for that. So if we go into communication part, the main aim, or you can say hallmark for any practice, would be to refrain yourself with an easy approach. Be 100% consistent with every patient. The patient should have a consistent experience. And we all have heard this line. Patients don't care how much you know until they think you care. Your whole lot of qualifications on one side, your behavior etiquette on one side. The halo effect and the horn effect. The halo effect simply says, if, for example, somebody is going in for business networking, opened up recently, going with the, you can say, around the area, the local shopkeepers, or you can say setting up and a customization with the shopkeepers, telling them that yes, we are opened up. What perception does those people form about you? The doctor came, he was well dressed, he talked nicely, काम भी अच्छा करता होगा, must be working good also. This is halo effect. Similar to another example I'll give you. I play cricket on Wednesdays and Saturdays with my, you can say, schoolmates. We have an alumni of you can say, our school started in 2017. That is how our school batchmates got together. So most of them, or rather all of them, know that I'm a doctor. So if I drop a catch, a simple catch, a lollipop catch, say एक simple catch तो पकड़ नहीं सकता, काम क्या खाक करता होगा. That is not my main skill. My main skill is dentistry. I'm allowed to fail in cricket. I may not be allowed to fail in dentistry. This is horn effect, the negativity. One emotion carried forward to the perception for that whole effect. You have to make sure in that part. So if you recognize these small little things, these will improve your own job satisfaction too. And of course, it all starts by talking and talking less, listening more, using words. Words are the most powerful drug, as I said. You have to understand. And marketing and communication expert Randa Zalman has given a acronym called as RESPECT. I'll break it down for you. What does she mean by that? Repo. Small details like physical appearance, your level of eye contact with patients, how often you use their names, addressing them, or using sir and ma'am, whatever you wish to, depending upon the age, can shape your relationship with the patients. Not every patient is an uncle or auntie. Remember that. You don't have to go into building up relationship in terms of uncle and auntie with every patient. It can be their first name. It can be, of course, we are not that habitual in India to talk only with first names. But yes, Shri, Mr., whatever, you can use those things. Small little. Then E is for explain. Ask them a question which explain them about their habits other than, you can say, outside their appointments. Basic aim is to engage them in conversation so that they forget about the pain part. Then show. You have to, you can say, tell the patients or show the patient, and whatever it is, they also might not be following instructions properly. They might not be coming on time. They might not be, you can say, agreeing to whatever you have, whatever you tell at the end of each sitting. So the thing is, we have to convey those feedbacks as well. So when you try to convey the feedback, the golden rule is 7:1 complement ratio. Convey it like a sandwich feedback. Good, ugly, good. Or good, bad, good. Like a sandwich. The middle masala would be the main, following up with this. You can try this sandwich technique with your staff also, not necessarily with patients. It actually sets up the tone. Randa Zalman says you can put in 7 compliments for every statement of criticism. Maybe a little much. I'll prefer a 3:1 or a 2:1 in that sense. Then P is for practice. This is for a reason. Practice always does not make perfect. But of course, repeatedly putting yourselves into those conversations where you actually get a sales training thing, or let's say practice good communication. I'll say no hospital on this planet gives a certificate, badaiyo sales wala paida hua hai. Salesmen are created. We are salesmen as well when we sell our services. We are not selling products, of course. We are selling our services. Whenever we pitch our things, whenever we convey the patients, we are actually selling something. Whether you want to believe it in a noble way or not, it is your choice, but we are actually selling. But salesmen are created through conversations, practices, rejections. You can't create salesmen overnight. So it is, you can say, repeated exercises, kind of these conversations which will build up. And of course, ask patients for their feedback, identify the communication roadblocks, and any kind of, you can say, complaints they have to make with your client. Then E is for empathy. Avoid being judgmental by providing encouragement to your patients. Of course, verbal and non-verbal both. I told you the feel, felt, pound approach as well. So C is for collaboration. Partner with your patient by explaining what are your best recommendations. You can say shared decision making is in the vogue. Many times you will explain everything to the patient. Ideally, the consent requires it, but still the principle of autonomy that will be, you can say, studying in the next part of this presentation. We are supposed to respect the patient's choice. If the patient we know can afford an Invisalign or a expensive treatment, but he chooses to go with a metallic braces or a removable ortho, then of course, case specific, case permitting that, then you need to understand that you have to tell them, guide them towards the right path. It is all about the patient autonomy, but it has a shared decision making aspect also into that. Then T is for technology. Of course, we have so many ways to communicate. The best way is always to take a prior permission. We talked about it. We are already overburdened with a lot of communication. If you want to send even your product or your service, of course, service updates only to your patients about any updates that you make via your R&D or via your upgrade in services at any stage, ask for a prior permission and then send. Always be clear and be direct in that. So when we talk about all these things, the satisfaction components and the respect acronym that we've just told you, it boils down to what exactly are you offering in your internal marketing? What role does it play in the success of a clinic? So let us look at the 11 secrets of the same. You might find some of them very trivial, but of course, many of them come from my personal experience of past 23 plus years, and they do matter in the long run. So what are those 11 secrets? Polite staff. The staff is the first encounter of the patient in your clinic. And the way the staff greets, meets, talks is actually very important in setting up the right tone for the patient when they see you. Then I talked of aroma. Many of the clinics are not having very good aroma, courtesy whatever chemicals we use, especially post-COVID, although patients are now adjusted to those kind of alcohols, which we use for sanitization or anything else purpose. But make sure that the patient spends almost negligible or minimum time of 5 to 7 minutes. That is the, you can say, sweet spot, 5 to 7 minutes in the waiting area and not beyond that. As I said, need not be a flamboyant or a flashy interior, but should be a comfortable one, which should actually be, you can say, in simple language, parde gande na ho, sofa phata na ho. So make sure your curtains are not dirty, your sofas are not torn from any corners or anything. Make sure those things are there. So all those males here, you preferably, if your spouse is a non-dentist, take them to your clinic, and the way they can find out dust even in the corners, trust me, nobody else can. So not in a lighter vein, but in a very serious vein, try taking your wives in the clinic and you will find that they will find out the small loopholes in terms of cleanness much better than you. Then, of course, stable and standard fee structure for everyone. Again, debatable for some. People say charge more from NRIs, charge less from, you can say, the poor ones. Personal choice. I believe a standard fee structure, stable fee structure goes a long way in setting up, you can say, your reputation. Nobody can pinpoint that you charge 10,000 from me, you charge 8,000 from that guy. Can't do that. Yes, as part of your CSR, you want to do any free treatments or for any poor, genuinely poor patients, your choice. Do that. But it does not mean that you shuffle your pricing every now and then. Then, of course, good location has its own role. But yes, there are so many examples where people not in so good location have, you can say, gone in for certain things. But in today's world, we are spoiled for choices. We all want good facilities at good price. So of course, if we are paying a price, we want good services as well. And good location plays a prime role in that. Flexible office hours. Being orthodontist, you need to be a little bit more flexible on that part. And that would mean that you guys mostly would and should be working on Sundays, most of you, and maybe having any other day as weekly off. That's perfectly understandable and normal, because considering your target population goes to school and colleges. So that is absolutely normal in that part. But yes, you need to have a little bit of flexibility as well. Then close parking. Parking is a big havoc in every part of India. Tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, any tier. I don't even talk tier 1 in this breath. You can say. So no city is immune that we have ample amount of parking. Nobody's there. The number ever increasing number of cars in every town is actually setting up that. Then flexible payment options. There were times when people followed only the cash only approach. But yes, times have changed now. We have so many options. Either the patient paid through cash or the doctor needed to have a swipe machine. But those are the things of the past now. You all have so many digital options. So I don't think so any one of us still sticking to these one or two options. So, of course, excellent listening skills. It conveys your empathy, it conveys your compassion, it conveys your touch to the patient that yes, you are a good listener, you diagnose well, you treat well. So to diagnose and treat well, you need to listen well. To treat well, you need to diagnose well, and to diagnose well, you need to listen well. So you need to understand. Then proper discussion of risks and benefits, the consent part. Of course, the law also mandates it for sure. Pre-follow-up, especially of your star patients. When we talk of patients, we always say patients can be categorized into 4 types: A, B, C, or D. Amazing patients, breadwinning patients, convenient patients, and dangerous patients. As simple as that. Amazing are the ones who trust our diagnosis, blindly pay whatever we say. Breadwinning, the basic ones, they have their own fears, but they at least are good patients. We are happy with them. Convenient patients, they change clinics with their changing prices. You offer them less, they will leave the original dentist, come to you. Another clinic up in your area who is lesser than you, they'll leave you as well. Dangerous patients, the MLC patients, I would say medical legal patients, I don't need them. I don't need C or D. I need only A or B patients. So basic aim is to turn your A and B patients into your BA patients. Amazing breadwinning into brand ambassador patients. Brand ambassador for BA patients, we also call as star patients. So again, you can do that. Follow up with them so that it lets them know, it reminds them if they or any other family member of theirs needs any other work which you have created the need for in the past, maybe that. Somebody of you might think that these 11 things don't appear that lucrative. These are all part of internal marketing, of course. But if you see the reverse, India में बोलते हैं ना उल्टी बात ज़्यादा जल्दी समझ आती है. So the reverse is really bad. Let's see the reverse. Let's see the flip side, what it can be. If you have a rude staff, if the patient complains against the staff to you, you stand by the staff, you lose the patient. If you stand by the patient, you lose the staff. Sometimes the only thing is to correct the staff behavior. Of course, identifying the ASK mindset, the attitude, skills, and knowledge of that staff member. Long waiting times. Sometimes some patients don't like the nauseating flavor of our clinic. Of course, not every clinic has that, but the aroma sometimes is not very good in many clinics. Of course, I don't expect most of the orthodontists have this kind of problem anymore. So uncomfortable reception areas, I divulge you, your spouses are the best to find out any flaws, whatever it can be in your clinic. Confusing fee structure, which says you charge one from one as one and another from different from another patient, is going to send across a wrong message in that sense. Of course, poor location has its role. Limited office hours not available in the times when your target audience is free have to be understood. Distant parking, inflexible payment options, we all have that. We don't have that problem anymore, most of us. Poor listening skills. Of course, we discussed a lot about this already. Then inadequate discussion of risk and benefits. Of course, this has, apart from the statutory regulation of getting the consent part, this has a role in decision making also. The patient is entitled to make a choice whether he or she feels that the treatment outcome is not greater or is not the way they expected. And of course, when you're not following up, you will have your off days. No clinic can say that we are busy 12 months in a year. So you will have your off days. The best way to reduce your, you can say, idle time is by doing the follow-up as we discussed. So the reverse might be appearing more in alignment with the option that I have already discussed. So in line with these internal marketing tips, let me give you 10 best productivity and efficiency tips. Number 1, enhancing communication skills between dentist and the patient and the dentist and the staff. This is one of the biggest changes in internal marketing which can increase productivity. Of course, most of the time we presume things for granted, and which does cause a loss of revenue. Then reducing the waiting time. It is a big practice builder and a stress buster. Plan your appointments in a way where you can decide the outcome. You should be knowing how much amount of time you're going to take and how much amount you can say going to finish the patient. Keep a buffer time of 10 to 15 minutes and then keep another appointment. Many people are fond of showing it to someone that we have a busy clinic every time our waiting area is full. As I said, I don't mind that how many people are sitting in my waiting area. What matters to me is what is there in my bank account at the end of the day or at the end of the month. That is what matters to me. We are not here to show someone something. I shifted purely appointment practice in 2007. And my town being an industrial town, it took me almost 1 year in those days to bring people from business families on this behavior. But when COVID came, even at that point of time, we didn't face any problem in terms of scheduling. People always prior call and come. Most of the times, we all have this appointment system into place, but things go haywire whenever you can say you are not fulfilling the appointments on time. So decide on that. For that, you have to know yourself. Then effective scheduling based on your 80-20 principle of Pareto. Main, you can say, focus on your patients, lengthy patients in peak time, and that too when you are the freshest. You can schedule your general dentistry patients in the morning on the routine weekdays, and your target population, your school going and calling patients in the afternoon. Or if there is a holiday or any non-working day, you can schedule it accordingly. And patient education and awareness. This is the other IND. We talked about one IND, which I say income and expenses. This is the alternate IND, information and education. The more you inform and educate the patient, it is about creating the need. Remember, I talked in marketing, how you set up the validation. If you are present organically online, making videos for the awareness of people, or in-house spending time with the patient, making them aware, that would mean spending more chairside time, spending more time with one particular patient, but that sets up the tone for a long-term relationship. Never ever undermine the importance of a proper consultation. I can tell you that I have written a book on the importance of first consultation. So I can tell you what importance it does have. First consultation need not be limited to first consultation. For any medium big case, when we are, you can say, consulting for 1, 2, or 3 times, it is like a first consultation only in that terminology. Then digital records. Most of us already are using softwares or any kind of digital records. But if you are still sticking on to manual, it is time to turn to digital. They're a great tool in increasing profits, you can say decreasing compliance on part of staff, and of course, decreasing your own headache in your life. And manage your staff. They are your backbone. You have to learn to delegate effectively. As I said, in the 10th foundational activity, as you grow in practice, you delegate more and more things. Spend more time at the back end to manage rather than at the front end to treat and manage everything. You can say you are the, you can say, Karta Dharta of the clinic, and you are the chief doctor of the clinic, and you are the chief operating officer of the clinic also, and you are the CTO also, chief troubleshoot officer of the clinic as well. You have to choose your own pains wisely as you grow in practice. Then increase gadgets which can help you ergonomically to increase your output. Can be loops, can be apex filter, can be microscope, of course. Whatever you can say adds to your specialty, in your specialty, if it adds to your comfort or way of working, which can increase your output. Of course, the bottom line in this is you should have your finances and the return over investment potential surely covering into that part. It's not like a FOMO approach that somebody posted a image on Facebook and you are, you can say, going relentless in that you also don't want to miss out. Don't catch FOMO for JOMO, as always say. Don't be in that fear of missing out for the joy of missing out for good things or bad things in life. So then solve patient complaints in the fastest way possible. Be it an angry patient, be it a complaining patient, be it any kind of patient who has a problem, attend to them. Whatever best, earliest possible time. It does not mean disturbing your own comfort or attending to them in the middle of the night. But yes, if it is such kind of an emergency that requires you to be in the middle of night as well, if you can, please do that. Please do that. Of course, not regular feature always, but people who will trouble you in the middle of the night would be the ones who will be genuinely needing. These days, nobody, you can say, is that free to, you can say, disturb or you can say wake up anyone unless they are in dire need of that. Then, of course, along with managing your staff, you have to keep your staff happy. if you are not raising your charges annually or once in 2 years, it does not mean that your staff will keep working at the same salary. Cost of living increases for everyone. We have to respect that. And whether or not you increase your charges, their life is also in, you can say, in that link to your clinic or to your, you can, in that space. Now, when we talk of staff, we always have to understand that staff stays us for 4 reasons. Financial growth, we're talking about whenever we regularly give them increment. Then career growth, if they don't see any growth and expansion in the role, whatever they're performing. Number 3, work-life balance. If they are getting paid for any overtime, any extra time they spend, that is their work-life balance. Even if they are not being paid, they should not be disturbed on their holidays. Everybody has a right to work 6 days and take 1 weekly off. That is, we're still not into that culture of 5+2 day weekend, but at least 6+1, even for a private practitioner, is a decent one. Then the 4th aspect is respect and care. If we don't indulge in respect and care, you can say, somebody's audio, please. So these 4 aspects: financial growth, career growth, respect and care, and of course, work-life balance, these important things. But yes, other than your yearly increment, if you have a windfall of an income in any particular month, always pay back to some portion of the profits. Learn to share your profits in those months. They will come handy increasing your output. And of course, lastly, enjoy your work, because a bored individual can never give a better output. If you start enjoying your work, you will surely create avenues for revenue in that regard. So the thing is, we all want to earn well through practice management, through learning tips and tricks, through these 11 smart tips and then 10 productivity and efficiency tips. If we talk, I've given you 21 tips in that. Of course, some are common, but you still get at least 15 plus tips in that list of 2 topics which I just shared. But all these are good to, you can say, earn well. We all want to earn well also, because it is for money primarily. Not only money, but it is primary thing. One of the primary things which we work for. Sometimes we cross on the wrong side of law. Go the unethical way. What stops us from undergoing the same? What can be the deciding factor? What is the governing force? The code of ethics. What exactly we mean by ethics? Moral science ka lecture. Simple answer in 1 word, you can say 2 words definition, 1 line definition. Say how we need to act with the valid principles in the right way or the wrong way. You can say it comes from Latin and Greek. The way the meaning is basically from the idea of custom. Aristotle called this study as the study of virtues and vices. Galat or sahi. As I talked about in the previous few slides, there has been transition in the balance of decision making in our clinic. Doctor, aap Bhagwan ho, you choose the best for me, to now respecting the informed and the autonomous decision of the patient. The law mandates is the principle of autonomy. The code of ethics is, you can say, the primary thing in deciding that. You have to respect that. Wish it was true. The dental ethics has to be like a uniform. Every dentist should be wearing the same one. Unfortunately, this is the biggest ethical challenge. There is a poor knowledge in ethics among the fellow dental practitioners in today's times. And what are the key principles which are governing? Patient autonomy, non-maleficence, beneficence, veracity, and justice. What do I mean by these? Principle of autonomy says the patient choice has to be respected. The patient has full right to decide what happens to his or her body or teeth or jaw in our case, if they are not satisfied with the kind of outcomes they are going to have. But yes, they should be aware of the principles of no treatment also. If you give them an option that this treatment, for example, of course, not pertaining to your specialty in that sense, somebody has a third molar which is lying close to the inferior ulnar nerve, they say, and it is a badly decayed one. What options? Yes, if we remove it, if we extract it surgically, there are chances of paresthesia for a short duration of 3 to 6 months. But then the patient should be knowing that if I don't get it treated, the infection might spread and go down, and then you can say do many funny things which we can't expect. So even in the case of those eventualities, the patient should be mentally prepared to make a decision, either kuan, either khai. If both the sides have damage, what damage does he choose? So whatever choice he makes, you have to guide them. You are making a wrong choice, but ultimately, if the patient, after knowing all the risks, benefit and options, as we say, RBOs, the patient, after knowing all the risks, benefit and options, still decides for an option, you have to respect that, being the principle of autonomy. Then the principle of beneficence, doing only good for the patient. Principle of non-beneficence, doing no harm to the patient. Principle of veracity or truth-telling. If you expect that certain kind of treatment that you're going to inculcate, for example, in orthodontic treatment, is going to result in root resorption of any of the, you can say, treating tooth anteriorly, you have to convey that. There are chances that this tooth might end up with root resorption. The patient makes a choice whether to undergo treatment or not. Of course, that comes in autonomy also. But if something happens during treatment, for example, in endo cases, we all see that broken file, we have to inform that. Of course, it goes with the first part as well. You convey the risks and benefits and options as a part of treatment. It is not a hazard. It is a part of the treatment. It is not a complication. It is a part and parcel. File separation, instrument separation, file breakage, whatever you can call it. It is a part of procedure. 90% patients don't have it. 10% may have it. But if it happens, you have to inform and take the remedial action or the first aid for that. That is what is required as a part of principle of veracity or truth-telling. Then principle of confidentiality or fidelity. If I'm sharing some patient's information, I have to keep their identity intact. People share their cases on social media without even blinding the patient, without, you can say, they show full patient faces, which is absolutely an unethical thing. You can share intraoral images, intraoral X-rays without even a consent. But for extraoral, which reveals the patient identity, has to be kept separate. And of course, even if you have to share it, you have to take a prior consent. And even after, you can say, taking the consent, if the patient says, I have no problem, share my case, you still have to blind the patient. I see cases being shared every day on social media. Then, as I said, the biggest challenge is lack of knowledge of the ethical conduct. Then, principle of social responsibility and justice. That means that you don't make any, you can say, any discrimination based on caste, creed, religion, sex, or whatever. And of course, you try your best to save teeth. For medical professionals, this is preservation of life as the primary thing. For us, not doing any kind of injustice, indiscrimination, and any kind of discrimination, and preserving teeth to whatever way it can be done. So it is the duty of every registered dentist to read these regulations, understand the responsibilities, abide by the same, and when concerned with consultations. And of course, there are concerns via, you can say, treatment offered to fellow dentists and colleagues. All about the code of ethics in that sense. So the code of ethics is almost similar to the medical code of ethics, Dentist Act 1948 and now 2020. The council is making a rule-making body for all of us, whether you can say we follow it or not, but that is the Dental Council of India is the final rule-making body. So there were regulations that those were created in 1976, amended in 87, 92, 2003, 2004, 2006, 7, 8, 11, 12, and then finally, when the amendments were too much, it gave way to revised guidelines in September 2014. So, of course, further amended again multiple times. But these are the guidelines which are applicable to all of us. And now, as we are discussing the soft skill and the marketing part in that, let me go into those realms also where we can discriminate between these two things. So, as a doctor or a dentist, what are your moral duties? Of course, to help to cure, to protect the patient's health, teeth, duty to confidentiality, protecting the patient's teeth, patient's life, and of course, autonomy to be respected, privacy to be respected, and patient's dignity to be respected as well. So what are the moral rights of a patient? Right to a high quality dental service, right to autonomous choice, right to decide, right to be informed, right to privacy, right to health education, right to dignity. Whatever are the duties for you, for you, they are the rights for the patient. So expectations and realities are sometimes different. Patients expect their dentist to be trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, and we expect our patients to be obedient, cheerful, thrifty in terms of spending, brave, clean, reverent, respectful, of course. But then certain times those expectations are crossing the limits. As I said, in terms to get more patients, we cross on the wrong side. That is where the advertising code of ethics comes into play. You are not allowed to solicit patients in any unfair ways. That means through any advertisements or direct marketing, any kind of comparative advertisement like a Dew and a Sprite or those things. So we as healthcare professionals are expected to maintain our integrity and fidelity and of course honesty in that part. Then we are not supposed to advertise in camps. Anyways, the camps have a comparatively lesser of, you can say on the lower side, I would say conversion rate, pretty much lower on 1 to 2% if we talk of the overall numbers. But then do camps as a part of your CSR. Don't do it as a part of getting patients from those things. Then by cold targeting vulnerable groups like school, colleges, old age homes, or any Red Cross bhavans or anything where you go and distribute your business promotional activity. Go there for alternate IND, as I said, inform and educate. It's not only the marketing is not only limited to online. It is only we who are thinking that the world has now shrunk to our palm in the form of a 5-6 inch device called a cell phone. It's not. It's still in offline mode as well. BNIs, meetings, old age bhavans, school, colleges, wherever you can go, even your local shopkeepers, local networking. These are all forms of marketing. Marketing simply means setting up your presence in people's minds, whereby you create value, create difference in their lives by information and education. You make them aware. What are you doing by making them aware? You're creating a need in their mind that this thing also needs to be addressed. Why don't you get it done? Now, from where they get it done is ultimately, you might not be benefited, but some other brother or sister of your colleague of yours might be benefited. It's about looking at the fraternity in a larger way rather than looking कि मैंने तो उसको बताया था, but he or she went to somebody else. It's not about that. Then we are not allowed to indulge in any false or misleading advertisements through press reports that promise inducements, rebates, and false benefits. 199 scaling, X-ray, consultation free. We all have come across these things online. People resort to cheap gimmicks. Ultimately, their own choice, whatever they want in life. Then employing an agent who is doing canvassing for you is absolutely an unethical activity. Then we are not before 2014 guidelines, we had you can say a guideline of 3 by 2 feet board size that was given away. But in the latest guidelines, it was not prescribed as the dimensions were not prescribed. But what exactly lies today is that it should not be disproportionate. For example, you have a 15 feet front. You don't place a 12 feet, 13 feet. You can place a 6 to 9 or 2/3 of that size. That still looks decent. But it is basically to not again entice. It is just to convey your KYC of clinic that you are present here in that sense. So then we are not officially allowed to be, and you can say, associated with any toothpaste, toothbrush, tooth powder, mouthwashes. In India, we're not allowed that as per the DCI code of ethics. You must have seen those Sensodyne ads, dentists practicing in UK. You all must have seen that. So to permit publication of dental surgeon's opinion, you can say in news, whenever you publish something, it has to be an evidence-based study and not a random random study in that sense. Not to indulge in any surrogate advertisements through TV programs or magazines or periodicals. And of course, intention should not be in good, any public information should not be enticing people to your clinic through your email address or phone numbers and attracting patients to your clinic in an unethical way. And of course, online scrollers like cable ads, we are allowed to advertise in that, but you can say those guidelines should not be offering something or enticing in the way for the patient. However, we are allowed to ethically advertise on starting practice, on changing your type of practice or changing address, on temporary absence, especially in females after maternity leave, or for any relocation, or you can say you have had a foreign accreditation to you, or maybe you went in for a PG, whatever it was there, you come back and you can start that on resumption of practice after a long break or succeeding in another practice. You're allowed to ethically make it's not only about a newcomer who can advertise, but all of us can advertise in a ethical way. Then we can give a press insert later also about any availability of new equipment or services. We are not allowed to use the words best or first in all kinds of advertisements or all kinds of media, anything that goes out in print or digital media. Use of best in the area, best in the region, first in Punjab, first in UK, first in Karnataka, first in Rajasthan. You are not allowed to first in Jaipur, first in Delhi. Don't use that. That is not actually allowed. Then insertion in telephone directories, Yellow Pages is allowed, which conveys your information. But all these have to serve as public information only. As I said, kind of a KYC only for you. But any claims of superiority or special skills over others is to be construed as an unethical practice. Now, this is for the offline thing. What about the online? Exactly, the websites do carry guidelines. Of course, for the social media, still the guidelines are not in place. But maintenance of websites about dentists or clinics is, you can say, where you maintain your information is not considered as an unethical practice. You can maintain a website where you can actually literally sing your own songs, sing your own sweet tunes, where you can boast and praise about you. Again, not the first and best, but whatever good things you do, your cases, whatever way, in an ethical way, you can share it. You can carry out, you can say, your website can carry details of the treatment facilities available, your fee structure also. The DCI, you can say, suggest, doesn't mandate it, suggest that you can place your fee structure also online so that it helps the patient to make a informed choice via transparent system. But again, no tall claims or statements which are not evidence-based or which mislead the public or by which you solicit the patients or which way you misguide should not be there. But having said that, we are supposed to follow a contract. We are all governed by the Indian Contract Act 1872. Yes, it is a British Time Act and still amended multiple times, but still the same guidelines are going on, wherein we are expected to give a reasonable care. Some cases where you think that they lie beyond your skill set ambit, you should not be attempting them. Calling a specialist would be a better approach. Exercise reasonable skill, not undertake any procedure beyond your skill, and of course, you have to maintain confidentiality about whatever you do. But then, when we talk of code of ethics, all these things coupled with internal marketing, patient satisfaction, productivity, efficiency, communication, certain things on the digital world and even in the offline world are, even in the print media, are not going as per plan. Some things, you can say, some things come out of syllabus. And one of them is home teeth alignment services, which is coming, you can say, in a very, very big way. This is a 1.5 year old article. We all know home teeth services are being promoted very, very, you can say, in a big way. There have been medical legal cases as well, where the patients have actually, you can say, been suffering. The D2C model, the direct to consumer models are coming into place, where they are actually mallining the traditional orthodontic braces to be a painful and a long drawn out transformation, where you have to go every week now and week, and you convey the treatment of the tier 1 to the tier 3. 1 lakh and 3 lakh is the cost, and of course it is expensive. Aligners are comparatively cheaper. It is DIY, do it yourself. And so many people, so many players, not people, so many players are coming in the market. Snazzy, Tootsie, Illusions, we all know so many things are there. And their main enticing point is the low cost, the DIY approach, and the EMI option. And of course, multiple painful sittings. Here, everything is being done yourself. Of course, it starts with the pricing part only. Nobody to govern them, nobody to tell them. Again, something has to, you can say, come into that ambit where those could be, can say, handled with an iron fist. People actually, you can say, are enticed by these things, where they have been, you can say, dhoya, bigoya, ho gaya, scan, align, retain, done. Pay in this lump sum, pay in EMI, at lesser cost, more, whatever it is. Comparative alignments, Snazzy, braces, Invisalign, comparing those things. This is the way. Visit us for a quick scan, review your plan, start your journey, DIY. And these are actually kind of startups only in that sense, or they promise to be a startup, but eventually they are actually disturbing the work culture, and they pride themselves in being a D2C model, where they can directly reach the consumers in their home. Patients are so spoiled for choices that they can immediately book and pick any of these, setting up different differentiators. And when Bollywood starts endorsing them, of course, Arjun Kapoor doesn't matter, but when Bollywood starts endorsing them, a few people start noticing. Simple ways: book an appointment, assessment at home, get results, and delivery. That's it. You just have to pay. You don't have to go anywhere. The problem is not this, the money part. The problem is not even the DIY. The problem is not even the EMI thing. The problem is this. And the celebrities who are much known faces, Virat Kohli and Anushka Sharma, A-listers of cricket and Bollywood, when they start endorsing such things on national television, in print media, and digital media, it sends across a wrong message to the public that whatever orthodontists were doing till date was looting people. This could have been done in an easy way at their home in a very, very simplistic manner. And when A-listers start doing it, more and more people start noticing, because their opinions matter. Their credibility matters. As I said about the EMI part, convenient, pain-free, super comfortable, invisible, absolutely safe. Who bothers? Who goes through what? Who is responsible if the patient's, you can say, anything from this structure is damaged? Who is going to handle that? Who has the final accountability? No one. So we have to think something about it. Now the comparisons have also started online. Who's better? The Pro or the Pro 14 Max? You have to decide which one is better. Again, Kareena Kapoor also into that fray. So pricing breakdown is given in such a way where you actually realize that some things are really going in the wrong direction. Making your smile more beautiful. Ripped braces. Rest in peace braces. Say hello to an invisible tack aligners. So what will happen? More and more people will start asking you about these. Those who don't want to indulge in a DIY approach, they'll start asking you about this. The moment you quote something from the branded part, they'll whisk away. And these these guys are spending a lot on the advertisement front. Fill up the I am a candidate form, and how you will look after the treatment. A free scan, a free 3D analysis. Is the problem with these sales in India? The problem is the dentist going out of window for a business to consumer or a direct to consumer model. The problem is some of ours, brethren, or you can say our fellow colleagues, who are being, you can say, as the in-house orthodontist for them, is their problem being lured for peanuts amounts. The problem is bargaining more so happening in clinics because of these. Are these the problems? The problem is that there is no justification of skill set in such. Who gets the crown of the thorns in such a case? Who will get the final discredit for this or the credit for the correction? Who is the bubble gonna burst if it actually does any harm? Ultimately, the patient is bearing the losses, monetary wise also, and you can say jaw wise also, to structure wise also. If the patient gets a distorted smile, who is responsible? Who has the final accountability? We have to make sure that we make clear what is the council stand on it. I'm talking of Dental Council of India. The iOS can do definitely a lot about it. But yes, it has to do certain things in terms with the Dental Council of India. How much, you can say, jurisdiction the Dental Council of India would have over these things is a matter for another day. But what are the council's rights? What can they actually do to stop these D2C models from actually going in? The newspaper cutting is the reaction when a non-qualified person is involved. What is going to be the stance if a dentist is involved in a distorted smile case? Means a D2C rights. Then the MLC is going to happen. Medical legal case. And we all know that how much painful a medical legal case can be. I hope I have put you in a think mode for this at the end of my presentation. So my inferences are, most of the time the price sledging has led us to all this. It's not only limited to the orthodontists in our field. It is actually, we can say, limited to the other factions which are fighting for their piece of pie in the practice, you can say, in the practice of India, I would say. The problem is not, you can say, we feel why, I really don't understand why we talk of saturation. We are 140 officially, 140 crore officially. Unofficially, we may be 150 crore itself. And as dentists, we are just 2,96,000. Official numbers, less than 3 lakhs. And 60 to 70% are practicing. 1.5 lakh are only practicing. That includes everyone, general dentists and the specialists. 1.5 lakh, 1.75 lakh against 150 crore, and we talk of saturation. It doesn't get across to me. We blame and crib and curse the Dental Council of India for opening so many colleges. Of course, opening up further is wrong. I'm not favoring them. But to crib them that we are 1.5 lakh or 1.75 lakh against a 150 crore population, it is too much of a saturation, is absolutely a wrong thing to have in mind. And trust me, it is going to get murkier even further. The problem is not, I'm not talking of the iOS here, but in general, as a fraternity, as a community of the dentists, iOS may be having a great, you can say, presence in amongst the orthodontists. But as a community of the dentists, otherwise, we have never existed as a community. That is why there is no unity. The official IDA numbers are 75,000, means 25% of the total numbers. Even if we say half of them are practicing, we are still 50% or 1.75 against. So there is no platform to represent us actually. And then whenever medical legal happens, there is no one to protect us also. Another aspect, the two subjects which were never taught but are everyone's favorite, subject J and subject BB, subject jealousy and subject backbiting, which happens with every one of us. We go out of the way to say good things about our neighbor, about our colleagues, and so many things. The problem is, as dentists, I feel that we have never gotten the respect that we deserve. I say it very proudly, very fondly, with a lot of, we can say, heart swollen pride, that BDS final year is one of the toughest UG curriculums in India. Any stream counted, even tougher than the final year MBBS, which has an MBBS split into two parts now. A BDS final year is still the toughest. And you guys are from the toughest specialty, the #1 chosen specialty, orthodontists. We need to understand that we all need to get the respect from the government, from patients, from medical colleagues, and even each other that we have so been longing for. And if we are here, all the above are to be blamed, but more or so each one of us. We make a lot of memes and jokes on dentistry that this is such a garib profession, such a poor profession. Always say choice is entirely ours. How we want to project it to the world and how we want to project it to ourselves first. That is absolutely our choice. I hope I have put you in a little bit of think mode while covering my allotted topics. And the key is keep educating yourself. I was really impressed when I saw the opening iOS thing. You never stop learning with iOS. So that was a brilliant thing. That is the only thing I say. The key is the key. Keep educating yourself, raise awareness. Because creating the need is the first step always. And when you create the need in the patient, you're bound to get more and more conversions. So before I wind up, a couple of announcements before I wind up and stop my presentation for the question answers. So as I told you about the DMF index, I'm trying my bit to plug the gaps. So my community name on Facebook is PhD only, where we have a weekly infographic, weekly video, weekly vlog, alternate days. So that goes by my name, facebook.com/groups/Dr. Bhavdeep. So the community is plugging the handicaps in dentistry to overcome the DMF index. So send a request to be added. Somebody's audio is on. So send a request to be added there. So if you want, I'll add you over there. And other than this, I run an advertisement-free, purely study-based WhatsApp group. Balwinder sir is there since in the inception 6 years back when we started this community. So close to 2,000 people only, because these are the communities where we promote only education and purely education, nothing else. Even my own workshops and you can say lectures, paid ones, are not promoted inside my own community. So if you want to be added in there, purely for education purpose, these are the two communities. You can send me a message. The number is in front of you. Of course, Dr. Deen Dayalan told you about my YouTube channel. Again, it is in my name, Dr. Bhavdeep. If you forget the link, go to YouTube and search Dr. Bhavdeep Ahuja. As on 31st March, 600 plus videos are already on my channel. And it started in the lockdown, June 2020. So my social media presence is again standardized by my name only, Dr. Bhavdeep. If you wish to follow me everywhere, I'll be available. So do send me your feedback. Of course, Dr. Sakshi has shared the feedback form with you guys. So do send me. Bookers and brickbats both would be welcome in equal measure. And questions, and of course, thank you. And I stopped my share. And I hope I was in time for that. Yes, I think so. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Bhavdeep, for that comprehensive presentation. It was a wonderful presentation. And I now request the President-elect of the Indian Orthodontic Society, Dr. Jayesh Rahalkar, to speak a few words on the presentation and hand over the speaker certificate. Jayesh, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Siddharth. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Audible.
Dr. Bhavdeep, it was a wonderful presentation. And we always say that we teach dentistry and orthodontics to the students, but we don't tell them how to think about that as a profession, as a business, how to teach cases, how to treat cases, how to treat class 1, but how to discuss the fee structure, how to talk with the patient is something which is really lacking. And it really made a very nice thing. And after say 26 years of practice also, this presentation taught me at least 10 things. And I'm very sure they are going to be very useful for me. So I really appreciate and thank for accepting the invitation of our Indian Orthodontic Society and giving this particular presentation. And we are looking forward for many more interactions with you. there will be a lot of questions coming up. At the same time, I would like to thank the head office, president, secretary, vice president for organizing such wonderful thing. And thank you very much to the practice management committee. And I here present you this particular token of appreciation from our organization. Please accept the certificate of appreciation from us. And
Thank you, sir.
once again, thank you very much. And it was really a wonderful evening about learning about practice management. Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
sir. Thank you
Over
so
to you,
much, sir.
Siddharth.
Thank you, sir. Now, I think we have quite a few questions in the Q&A section. I
Yeah.
request Dr. Amir Sheikh, Executive Committee member, to kindly initiate the question and answer session. Over to you, Dr. Amir.
First of all, congratulations, Dr. Bhavdeep. It was
Thank you, sir.
fantastic presentation. You were witty and very informative, and you have enlightened today about practice management. And thank you for your memorable presentation, and hope you will visit us again. Today, I will be moderating the question and answers. There are a few questions which have been asked by our audiences. So can I
Sure. Sure, sir. Please go
am
ahead.
I audible?
Yes, you're
Yes,
loud
yes,
and clear.
Dr. Amir.
Yeah. So the first question is, do you think that asking for reviews and likes on social media is correct? Is it really worth if it's paid fake?
The ethics and the unethical code I've already discussed. We are not supposed to indulge that kind of thing. The first aspect. The second aspect is, if you are indulging in a review, in a feedback, that should always be a genuine one. And you ask only from the patient where you have done a sweat job, where you are actually confident of your services. So it's better to go in for, you can say, authentic reviews and feedbacks and testimonials, rather than indulging in paid fake ones, because ultimately they'll fall apart sooner or later. Having said that, the most authentic form of reviews till today, in today's time, of course, they might change next year. In today's time, till date, is Google reviews. Of course, they have to be coupled up with the testimonials, video testimonials on your website if the patient has given you them. But I always insist on the genuine ones only. Thank you.
The next question is, orthodontist or dentist have got many roles to follow regarding advertisement, but at the same time, corporate sector does not have, and they do the marketing in a huge way. Is it ethical for those people? How to tackle this problem?
Corporates are also covered, because the corporates are not being mostly, or most of them are not being run by doctors. So that is the reason they do whatever they like. But having said that, the code of ethics clearly says we are not allowed to solicit that. But on the flip side, if we compare the marketing part, as I have discussed earlier also at the start of my presentation, people will always seek validation in whatever you do. Even if it is a paid one, is an unpaid one, or even a paid promotion or an organic one, they will search out for you, and they can really, you can say, smell through the authenticity in that regard. So it is better to stick to the ethical ones. And I insist on paid advertisements only when you have built up a sufficient or a good amount of organic content online, which can validate you. If somebody come across you online, he can check against, cross-check and find it. Yes, this guy is existing there, and maybe he is a good, you can say, candidate for me, or is a good doctor to me. I should catch hold of him as soon as possible.
Okay. One more question is there from the panelist. Does signature of the patient on the consent form stands valid in court of law?
Consent form doesn't need to have one signature. It needs to have at least 4 signatures: patient, doctor, and 2 witnesses. The 2 witnesses usually can be the patient accomplice, patient relative, patient neighbor, patient whatever, you can say family member, and your staff member can doubling up as same. Once you have a relationship building up, rapport building with the patient, at a later stage, maybe both the 2 witnesses can also be yours. But for a new patient, you, patient, and 2 witnesses, out of which one will be from your team, one will be from patient's team. So 4 signatures. Of course, witness consent adds more value in the court of law.
Okay. Then one question is how to apply the fundamentals, what you mentioned in your presentation in the consultations, in the orthodontic consultations.
Okay, so the consultation is all about the second step, the sales that I said. So sales is not about pitching. It is about, you can say, uncovering the patient's needs, understanding what the patient really wants, understanding what the patient's really, you can say, needs and wants are. It's not about just checking out how thick the patient's pocket is. It's about checking what the patient really needs and you convey the treatment plan suited to his needs. So that is the way you can apply the fundamental of sales in the conversation. But yes, having said that, we need to understand that there will be rejections happening in consultation. We will never get 100% conversions. In sales, the similar analogy used is do your best, leave the rest. If this patient doesn't get converted, who's next? That is the ideology. We all learn through conversations, practices, rejections in practice. So sales is a matter of that only. So apply the fundamentals of sales in consultations. That is the best way to go about it.
Okay. Now next question is, how far is good to invest in SEO?
If you want your website to be ranked higher, you need to indulge in a good SEO, search engine optimization. So unless you indulge in a SEO, your website visibility would be less. And make sure you do cross linkages as well. Your social media should have footnotes of your website everywhere. And your website should have a footprint of your social media. So that cross polymerization, as we say, that starts happening. So everyone, you can say, gets a hang of it and can visit your website with a click of a button. So paid SEO always helps. It, you can say, helps coming in the top list every now and then. But having said that, organic plays an equal role in that.
We as orthodontists always dread the question that when will my braces come off? So how to answer this question in a better way?
See, you have to set the context in the first setting itself. When we talk the first consultation, we have to make sure that we don't start in a hurry. We should not be too eager to start. The consent also says it, the consent principle also said that you and the patient are on the same page before you start. That means the patient knows about all the RBOs, the risks, benefits, and options. And in that, add to it the treatment span, any pitfalls associated with that, any, you can say, the treatment cost, of course, the way the patient is supposed to pay in installments. Because most of the orthodontists charge in installments. So whatever way you're supposed to pay, you have to convey that. Having said that, always err on the higher side. For example, if you feel that the treatment is gonna be completed in 9 months, give the patient 12 months plus minus 3. Always err on the higher side. So that even if you finish early, you don't do that. I can apply the same analogy when we convey the treatment pricing. Of course, not in ortho, but in general dentistry. We've calculated a price for a particular set. For example, a patient needs 2 root canals, 2 crowns, a couple of extractions, oral profile access and everything. The total budget is roughly, we have calculated, coming out around 23,000 rupees. What we say is shockingly 20,000 rupees. Something else turns up. We have an additional filling, additional restoration, a core turns into a post and core, a crown's types is changed. The patient then wants, you can say, ultimately the bill gets to 27,000. What have you said? 20,000 at the start. Already 3,000 treatment. The patient will say, "Aapne to 20 ka 30 kar diya, 20 ka 1.5 guna kar diya treatment." So that is where the problem comes. You have to set the expectations right in the first place regarding the pricing, regarding the treatment, you can say duration. Always err on the higher side. If I were to do this kind of treatment, I will say 25,000 plus minus 10%. My 10% minus is also covered in that. If I eventually end up with, we can say 23, the patient won't mind it. If I go up to 27, 28, the patient is mentally ready that yes, he said 25 plus minus 10. It can be 27. But if you start with the 20, it is like using you can say yourself into an open mode, or you can say fighting mode with the patient. So set the expectations right at the start. Even if that means delaying the start by a couple of sittings. You need to be on the same page. That is the best thing I can say.
Okay. Now, next question. How to ethically educate our patients when they inquire about clear aligners versus DIY? Ethically educate our patients.
The simple way to say is that if everything was DIY, you won't need experts in the field. If there are experts in the field, they are for a particular reason. So if the patient is still hell-bent on, you can say, getting a DIY, warn them of the potential side effects, warn them of the potential problems. And of course, the final choice is still the patient's, and you have to respect for the patient autonomy. Having said that, we need to understand that we don't need to induce a fear factor in the patient's mind. ऐसे कराओगे तो ऐसे तो होना ही होना है. You will be barbad, you will be destroyed. We don't have to go in that direction to convey to the patient. It's just about conveying what risks come with the DIY approach. And if there are experts, then everything would be DIY in this whole world. You don't need anything for anyone. Have a DIY kit for anything and get everything done. So get a stent from the hospital and put it in your heart itself. Is it possible? You still need a cardiologist for that. So you need to just convey in that direction that we are the experts for it. So we know how to handle this thing better. While doing DIY, you will not be aware of the pitfalls. If your resorption is happening, if any mobility is happening, you will not be aware yourself. But we as a dentist, when we are undergoing that, we'll be able to notice that well. But if you still wanted to go DIY, the choice is absolutely yours. Learn to let it go. Once you learn to let it go, यहाँ पे दर्द नहीं होगा. जब तक यहाँ पे दर्द होता रहेगा, तो it'll create a problem for us in the longer run.
Okay, nice. Now another question is how to handle bad Google reviews which are actually posted to harm you.
See, if the review is a genuine one, these days a lot of funny things happen. So if the review is a genuine one, take the call, because any patient who goes online must have tried the offline route already with you and was dissatisfied because you did not accept your mistake, or you were in a cross-arm position that you didn't listen to it. If you have not attended to, then only the patient went. If you have attended to, the patient will never go. The first thing. Second thing, if you find that the patient has gone online, this is a second chance to correct your mistake. Accept it, correct the mistake, and do it. And of course, when you do the treatment, request the patient to remove that review. At least the damage can be undone. But there is a flip side also. Neighbors, friends, foes, I can say dentists, you can say, who are close to us in that sense, or nearby situated to us, sometimes indulge in this kind of a philosophy where they find where they post fake reviews by using fake database. So if you come across a fake review, please ask politely. Our record does not show, our database does not show you as the patient. Please let us know the details when you underwent treatment and what was the problem and all those details. Ask them politely. And if it is from, you can say, a dentist that you feel that he might be the, you can say, naughty chap behind it, check out your other fellow colleagues who are nearby. They'll also be having a similar kind of a review. Marketing agencies also sometimes indulge in these kind of tactics that nearby dentists all have a similar review by the same patient. It is not practically possible that one patient went to all the 6 people around you and have had the same experience. So again, you have to deal that our records don't show it, and post snapshots of others also and say funny things people do in this weird era or in this era. So if it is yours, own up. If it is not yours, you can say ignore it. Funny things happen in this era.
Now there are last 2 questions for you. Then remaining questions, you can just go through question and answers and give the answers later on.
Sure.
The best practice management software do you suggest?
See, practice management software, people equate it to ease. If it makes your life easy, then any software is best. The problem is most of us don't use the software ourselves. We have our staff to handle it. If your staff is finding it easy, then any software can be the best or any software can be the worst. A better question would be that how do I maintain my records? What do you expect from you can say a software? Is it only the SMS part? Is it only the reminder part? Then I would say no. Then the second question is, do you prefer an online one or an offline one? I would say an offline one, especially if you're not putting your 100% of white income or 100% of your actual income online. Don't go in for an online software. Prefer an offline one, because otherwise you will find some ways, some loops connecting, and then you will be in a soup later on. So that will be, you can say, a further detrimental position for you in that regard. So I would say, not particular one. I use a modified Excel-based software which I designed with the help of my friend in 2008, and it serves well for me. And we give the reminders in a manual way. We don't prefer the reminders to our patient, and we give only to those who ask for it, not to everyone. I already said in the presentation, we as a generation are overloaded with communication. I don't want to further overload my patients with the kind of reminders. We do ask every patient, whosoever wishes to get a reminder, we give them. But having said that, technology is only beneficial if the users of the same find it handy and easy to use. If not, then it is not a boon, it is a bane.
Yeah. Okay. Now the last question: how do you manage patient who bargains for the fees?
The first thing, not everyone walking through my clinic door is my patient. An ideal conversion ratio, any conversion ratio or conversion rate in any case is 7.2 out of 10 or 72 out of 100. That is the sweet spot. If you're already getting above 72, wonderful. But if you're getting less than, you can say 50, 45, then you need to, need to think about maybe the way you're consulting, maybe your clinic needs an upgrade, or maybe there are certain things which are missing in that can say repertoire in that sense. So if we talk in terminology of bargaining part only, we have to convey our charges. If the patient is bargaining at the first step, and we have to convey our charges. If the somebody's audio is there on. So if the patient is debating, discussing, bargaining at the first step, politely put a foot down if you are not ready to do that. That is why I insist on a treatment approval form or a consent form that includes the, you can say, the payment protocol as well. We have the payment protocol in the consent form itself. It is a long case. We have a treatment approval form separately. So I insist on that, which makes sure that my life is busy and my life is easy, and we are walking on the same page with mutually agreed upon terms in the start. Bargaining, if done after the procedure, then you are helpless. But if the tone is set before the treatment, then of course, you can say you call the shots, not the patient.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Bhavdeep. Actually, I think you have covered most of the questions. There are a few questions which are remaining. I think you can later on just go through question and answers, and you can just them so that everyone will just go through it. Yeah.
Sure.
I think you have given comprehensive answers to all the questions asked by the audience. So it was a very wonderful session, and it was very nice to see you. Over the years, we are just going through your series of practice management in IDA times and all. So we are very thankful to you from iOS part. And just over to Siddharth.
Thank you so much, Dr. Amir, for the crisp question and answer session. Now the feedback form has been shared on our chat. So I request the attendees to kindly fill the form and submit it. Only after filling the form, you will receive your participation certificate via email. As we come towards the end of the program, I think it's only right to thank the speaker, express our gratitude to our speaker, and I request the EC member Dr. Jaskirat Singh to express the vote of thanks, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Siddharth sir. With the Hindi saying, "Karta to wo hai, hum to bas zariye hain." Thanks to the Lord Almighty for bestowing, blessing us with such wonderful stalwart speaker. Thanks a lot, Bhavdeep Singh Ahuja sir, for such a scintillating lecture. Trust me, I could really correlate to each and every slide. You know, these are the problems those start from your budding days, and as you grow up in the practice, you start facing them. Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks to our dynamic, enterprising president, Dr. Balwinder Singh Tucker sir, who has been a guiding torch always, our enthusiastic and versatile secretary, Dr. Sanjay Lab sir, though he was not in the webinar because of his travel schedule, but trust me, he was keeping a record of track of each and everything, whether it's going on track or not. Thanks to Vice President Dr. Shailesh Shenava sir, President-elect Dr. Jayesh Rahalkar sir, Principal Office Bearers, all the EC members of the Indian Orthodontic Society. This fourth practice management session would not have seen the light of the day without our hard-working practice management team led by none other than Dr. Siddharth Sethi sir. Thanks a lot, Siddharth sir, for being there. Above all, our dear delegates who have been really glued back to the seats to listen to the practice management session by Bhavdeep Ahuja sir. Thanks to everyone. I think learning never stops at iOS, and this was a well-spent Sunday for everyone. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Special mention to Dr. Sakshi Sachdeva. She's been very instrumental. She's a newcomer to Indian Orthodontic Society and a very strong help to Indian Orthodontic Society. So I would be telling you my duties if I miss her name, please. Thank you so much, please. Thank you so much, Bhavdeep. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
And we are grateful to you always.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jaskirat, for that wonderful vote of thanks. And thank you, President, sir. So now I request the Vice President of the Indian Orthodontic Society, Dr. Shailesh Shenava, to deliver the vote of the closing remarks before we call it a day.
Good evening, President, Indian Orthodontic Society, my dear EC members, and all the delegates. Dr. Bhavdeep Ahuja has covered all the areas of practice management in the limited time that he had, be it communication skills, body language, record keeping, and everything. Thank you, Dr. Bhavdeep Ahuja, for a wonderful presentation.
Thank you, sir.
It is said that ethics is knowing the difference between what you have a right to do and what is right to do. I think Dr. Bhavdeep Ahuja has covered it very well. Thank you all for patiently listening, and I would take this opportunity to thank the members of the practice management team for taking the effort to making it a very successful event. Thank you all. Thank you one and all for patient listening. God bless. Jai iOS. Jai Hind. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you so much, sir. That concludes today's webinar. Thank you.
Bye and thank you. Looking forward to another series of practice management webinar in days to come. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, one and all. Please. Bye.
Thank you very much, President sir, and the team.
President-elect sir ko salam.
Thank you very much, Siddharth.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining in from the airport. Always available, sir. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Sir is on his way back to Pune. So he's
from Mahabalipuram. IVO meet.
From Mahabalipuram. Yes. Okay, sir.
Thank you very much.
Right.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bhavdeep, once again.
Bye, guys. Bye, guys. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bhavdeep. Bye. We'll share the recording with you.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Sure, bye.